So as you know, NBA trade deadline was crazy this year. I think there were a total of 36 players that were moved to different teams. And that has been, I think, the most in NBA history for a trade deadline. I mean, it's, at least in recent years, it's been crazy. Obviously, we're talking about winners. You know, Miami, they got Goran Dragic. I don't know what Philadelphia is doing by getting rid of, Michael Carter Williams. But, I don't know, man. It's a lot of good stuff that's been out there. OKC, they got rid of Reggie Jackson, but they got Enes Kanter, and so far that's turned out to be a good move. They also got DJ Augustine as a backup point guard. That's a pretty decent move for them as well to kind of make a deep run into the playoffs. Some of these teams are kind of shaping out and doing different things. But I want to really just kind of talk about one team in particular. We're here in Minnesota, so let's talk about the Minnesota Timberwolves. KG coming back to the place where it all started for him. Back here at, the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's coming back to play with the team. We don't know if he'll play again next year, but for right now, he's here as a leader, as a mentor for the young squad that they have with Andrew Wiggins, Zach LaVine, Shabazz Muhammad, Ricky Rubio, Gorgui Dieng. I mean, the numbers are endless right now as far as the youth on this team. And they need some type of guidance. And this is just a perfect storybook ending for his career. Not only that, we can just kind of talk about the future of the franchise. I've kind of talked to a number of different people in Minnesota and just kind of talking about the Timberwolves in general. A lot of people are just kind of like, well, I can't really put too much faith into the Timberwolves and the growth of that because we've heard that before. Ever since KG left, they were talking about Kevin Love, they were talking about Ricky Rubio, and none of that has really ever panned out for them. They haven't made the playoffs since KG left. KG's back now. I don't know if that kind of changes the situation, but to think about it, I think they have a bright future just because of the youth that they have and the actual talent that they have as well. You got Andrew Wiggins, who's been getting better almost every game this year. Hands down going to be the rookie of the year. But then you have Zach LaVine. He's been dunking all over the place, as you saw in the NBA dunk contest. But at the same time, this guy has some skills. He can kind of progress to be a game type of, game changer. Looking at him compared to Russell Westbrook, I see a lot of similarities. I just don't see the dog in him yet. But I think that will come, especially with some mentorship from KG. Then you got Shabazz Muhammad. He just gets it done, man. I've been to a couple games, and I've just been impressed by the way he plays, simply for the fact that he just goes hard. He gets a rebound over 7-foot guys, and then he's backing guys down in the post. He's knocking down jump shots. The dude's a scorer. And that you can't have too many of those on your team. Obviously, they still got Kevin Martin, but down the line, he probably won't be a part of the team. But if you kind of look at that core with Ricky Rubio, with Gorgui Dieng, that is a great nucleus to kind of build around. And the way I see them is kind of reminds me a little bit of Oklahoma, simply for the fact because they built their team up from the draft. They had Kevin Durant, then they had Russell Westbrook, then they had James Harden, and as you saw that, the team got better and better and better each year. It didn't start out great. They didn't make the playoffs the first couple years. But once they started to, get their stride and kind of learn their roles and what they need to do, they're just a force to be reckoned with now. And I kind of see that, playing out very similar for the Minnesota Timberwolves, especially if KG is here to kind of give these guys a little bit of guidance, a little bit of confidence. Andrew Wiggins gets the dog in him. He adds a little bit more weight. There's no telling how good this team will be. But I'll tell you this. My prediction in 2 years, these guys will be a force to be reckoned with. They'll be probably making the playoffs. They'll be a team that, you can really kind of look at and say, all right, this team's going to actually go somewhere in the future. So Minnesota, keep your head up. You got a bright future. Glad to see KG is back, and let's see how this plays out for the rest of these few years with Andrew Wiggins and the rest of their core.